But let's move on, Mark, into the next thing we're talking about, and that's going to be some NFL playoffs. Kind of looking at we've done this before. The Bears, are they Super Bowl favorites? Bear fans said yes. Everyone else said no. Then we looked at the Texans, and Texan fans thought that they are for real, which they are. Not saying that they're not. And we're taking another look at a team where I'm going to expect the answer to this question for Seattle Seahawks fans will be yes, they are. But we're going to take a kind of non-Seattle fan take into this, and we've got the Seahawks. And the question I want to ask you is, they've pretty much got the 5th seed locked up. They could lose this game to the Cardinals week 17, doesn't matter. They own the tiebreaker over the Vikings. They're going to get the 5th overall seed. The question, though, I have for you is, with the Seahawks, will they, not could they, not are they, will they be the dark horses of the NFC in the playoffs?
I can see the Seattle Seahawks being a team that upsets somebody, but I don't see them being a team that makes a run. Mm-hmm. You know, like if they, right now they played, the Cowboys?
Yep, Cowboys, and then if they won that game, they would play, it would depend on, if the Bears win, then they'd play they'd play the Saints. If the Vikings or Eagles would beat the Bears, they'd play the Rams.
Mm-hmm. And to me, I see this team and I'm like, man, they got a lot of pieces. You know, the defense has performed better. Russell Wilson's like, hey, I'm going to drag anybody who doesn't want to be here. Mm-hmm. I'm going to drag you to success. But I look at the team too and I say, well, who did they lose against? The Broncos. That's nothing too impressive.
Putting asterisks next to that Vikings game because of the refs.
The Bears, they lost to the Rams. They lost to the Chargers. They lost to the Rams again, and then 49ers. So taking the 49ers and the Broncos out of it, I look at it and I say, well, when they played good teams, they lost.
But they were close.
They were close, but they still lost. Mm-hmm. Then I say, well, let's look at, are there any teams they beat that I would consider a good team?
The Chiefs.
The Vikings and the Chiefs.
Well, and
maybe the Panthers.
The Viking game, though, I'm putting that off to the side because I know to a Seattle fan this is going to sound like sour grape, so let me have my sour grape moment.
All right. But remember, it was a 2-possession game.
The only reason they won that game, though, was because of the refs. First off, that blocked field goal should have never been a blocked field goal. Should have been a penalty on the Seahawks, put us into the red zone even more. New, fresh set of downs, could have scored a touchdown off of it, would have changed the game forever.
Then a one-possession game.
We could have taken the lead at that point. And then also the bullshit pass interference that they called before the game got out of hand. No one even touched him, just a hand out there while he's looking at the ball. 2 bullshit calls cost the Vikings that game. That's why I say put an asterisk next to that one, because I believe in my heart of hearts, even though I'm a Vikings fan,
yes, you are.
That should have gone the other way. Mainly because of that illegal call that was not called. It was an illegal play. They even said after the game, like Brandon even texted me and was like, oh, do you feel better that the ref said they got it wrong? No, because they didn't change it.
All right. Like, then it makes you feel worse.
Like I told Dave, if you got it wrong, just say you got it right. Don't tell me you got it wrong, because that's going to make me feel worse unless you're actually going to retroactively change it and give me the W. So there, my sour grape rant is over, and why that one should have been a loss and not a win.
But either way, I'm going to stick to it to say that the Seahawks have beat like 3 good teams.
So you're saying they haven't beat enough good teams
to convince me that, yes, this is a team that is ready to make some real noise.
See, I'm on the other, like the only way I'm on the other side is I look at every single loss this year, except for every single loss. Denver, 3-point loss. The Chicago loss, a touchdown game. The Rams game, 2 points. The Charger game, 8 points. The Ram game again, you've got 5 points. And then the San Francisco game, you've got that was a field goal game that they lost in overtime. Every single game has been close enough to where I feel like this Seattle team is going to be that team that basically, hey, we're going to stick with you the entire way. Like they're not going to be that flashy team that blows out a team in the playoffs. But if they get the right matchup or the other team just doesn't blow the doors off, like the Chiefs Patrick Mahomes didn't have a bad game. Threw 3 touchdowns, didn't turn the ball over. Running backs had a good game as well.
But this is classic Andy Reid. Andy Reid slows down once it hits December.
Exactly. But you had Russell Wilson on the other side where that offense was just keeping up with the Chiefs and kind of controlled that game, where Russ had about 3 touchdowns. You had Chris Carson with an 100-yard game. Baldwin had 100 yards on the day. Well, Lockett was nearly 1 yard away from a 100-yard day as well. And with the Seahawks, I wonder. The way I see them as dark horses is they need the Bears to lose in the wild card round. Because if the Bears lose in the wild card round, whether it's to the Vikings, whether it's to the Eagles, whoever they might play in that game, I think the Seahawks can beat the Cowboys in the wild card round. And I think that they can beat the Rams in the divisional round. And then when you get to the NFC Championship game, anything is possible. Like, do I see them right now? If you said, Ricky, put your money on the Saints or the Seahawks to get to the Super Bowl, I'm not going to be stupid. I'm putting my money on the Saints.
Yeah.
Like, home field, they're a team that Drew Brees looks like he's got that team laser focused right now on getting to the Super Bowl. I know that the Steelers almost beat them. Juju's fumble really costed that for them. But I don't see the Seahawks being a team to beat the Saints. But if, let's say, the Saints get upset in the divisional round, then I can see the Seahawks representing the NFC representing the NFC in the Super Bowl. Because any other team besides the Saints, I can see them beating the Cowboys. I can see them beating the Rams. Let's say they do.
They've lost to the Rams twice this year.
But they're close enough games to where I feel like the third time. Plus, it was so early in the year, that was a different Rams team. Todd Gurley was healthier. Todd Gurley's barely being used anymore. Jared Goff was a different Jared Goff. Like, that was, here, let me look at the schedule really quick.
One's like, I think, week 4, and the other one's maybe 8.
Yeah, but I got to look at the Rams schedule really quick, because that was, if I'm not mistaken, like, yeah, the first time they met was right after Jared Goff had that, like, ridiculous 5-touchdown game against the Vikings. And then the second one was right before they had that really big shootout against the Chiefs. Like, ever since then, the Rams have been kind of, a 2-2 team. Didn't look good against the Eagles, didn't look good against the Bears. The Seahawks, I think, if they played the Rams a third time, could get the better end of the Rams that we have seen within the last few weeks.
I just look at it this way, and I look at the teams they face. The Saints are still my number 1 team. They've lost to the Rams twice. I know you already made your points, but they still have lost to the Rams twice. They have already lost to the Chicago Bears, a Chicago Bears team that was only in week 2, so they've gotten better, as the Seahawks have gotten better as well.
And the Seahawks, let's be honest, should have won that game, I think. Like, from what I remember with how that game was going.
The Bears basically dominated the whole time, and the Seahawks started to come back, but couldn't. And that's coming from a Bears fan, so Seahawks fans can get mad at me for saying that the Bears dominated the game. But they'll beat the Cowboys, and they've already beat the Vikings. So they can get out of the wild card round because they're going to play the Cowboys. I just don't really think they're going to go much further than that.
What I was looking at, and I looked it up right now, is so with about 10-13 to go in the game, the Seahawks were up 17-10. And it's like, okay, you're up by 7. I'm thinking at that point, as long as you don't turn over the ball, the Bears could be 0-2 to start this year. Boom, Prince of Makamura, 49-yard touchdown. That changes the game completely.
Defense is dominant.
Yeah, and one interception changed the game and gave the thing to the Bears, but it was a game where it's like, hey, if the Seahawks do their job, could win. Yes, the Bears defense made a play, and it wasn't like,
that's the way it goes.
It wasn't like a Minnesota Viking game. I'll say that. The Bears actually won that game. But, I mean, this Seahawk team, like, I could see them, like I said earlier, they're not going to be a team that dominates a team in the playoffs. They're not going to win like 38-17. They're going to be a team that goes, we're going to stick around. We're going to make this a slugfest. We're going to make you use every bit of energy that you have to beat us. And I feel like this game that we just saw with the Chiefs, I don't know, like, because you could say either two sides. You can say that we saw a lot from the Seahawks of what we're going to see from them moving forward, or you can say what you said when I brought it up the first time of like, well, we know this is Andy Reid. Andy Reid usually slows down when we get to December. So with that one, I don't know. Could be a little bit of column A, column B, but it could also be...
It's definitely a column A, column B situation.
Hey, the Seahawks are looking really good right now and carrying some momentum into the playoffs.
The Seahawks are looking good. I mean, there's a reason why...
A lot better than both. You and I didn't have them in the playoffs, I don't think, in our predictions. I know I
don't remember. I don't remember how I had the Seahawks turn out.
Look it up.
But, the thing with the Seahawks that is most impressive is they don't turn the ball over, but they'll make you do it.
Yeah.
And that's a really good thing. The unfortunate part is, are you going to face teams that are going to turn the ball over? I mean, that's a way where they could get a shot at the Chicago Bears because Mitch is still young and he still makes some dumb mistakes. Goff is still young. Goff has made dumb mistakes. Kirk Cousins doesn't make a ton of dumb mistakes. With Dak Prescott, he'll make some mistakes. So you've got some guys in there. If you're going to Kirk Cousins and Drew Brees, the two more veteran quarterbacks looking at the playoff picture right now, less likely to do it. That's still the reason why I'm saying they can make splashes early. It's just when they get to a point, I think they'll hit a wall.
Let's see. I'm looking right here. Is this you or me? You had the Seahawks at third in the division in the preseason. You had Rams at 10-6.
For a second, you said third, and I'm like, hey, look at me. I got them in the playoffs.
Rams at 10-6, Niners at 9-7, asterisk. That was with Jimmy Garoppolo.
Correct.
Seahawks at 9-7. So if they lose this week, you're spot on, 9-7 for the Seahawks.
It's just that the 49ers needed to not do 49ers things.
Yeah, well, Jimmy Garoppolo got injured. I mean, that's the whole thing. Whereas I had them... Yeah, I had the Rams at 11-5. The Niners I was high on. I had them at 10-6, just missing the playoffs because I had flipped that late and had the Saints get in over them last second before we recorded. And then I had the Seahawks at 7-9, which obviously they're going to
Good thing you had the Saints getting
better
in the playoffs.
Than 7-9. Yeah, I believe I had the Saints.
I remember you wanting to not have the Saints in the playoffs.
Yeah, originally I had them at 10-6, not making the playoffs. Yeah. But to be honest, both you and I, we had the Falcons doing a lot better this year.
Definitely.
And the Falcons have kind of pooped the bed a little bit this year, and they'll probably be a top 10 pick.
And then from that, I do remember, too, this. I don't think this was the revised one where I revised the Bears into post-Khalil Mack trade.
Yeah. Well, you did that the Bears on a podcast beforehand. I let you do it. We didn't officially do when
we did a whole segment on it.
Did we?
Yep. We did a segment on it where I said the Bears are now in the playoffs and it knocked out the Packers.
Yeah, I thought that was at the beginning of a Bears segment that we did. I thought that was at the beginning of the Khalil Mack trade segment we did.
It probably was, but I'm still counting it.
Because, I know with the Tony Romo and Teddy Bridgewater injuries last year,
we did a whole revised. Yeah, this wasn't a full revised.
Yeah.
This was me and the Bears are in, the Packers are out.
And then we talked about the Khalil Mack.
Yeah.
Because then we went right into that game, and we talked about it was either...
It was beautiful.
Yeah, it was before that game, because I know we did a segment about them after that game. For me, with the Seahawks... I think they could be a team that don't be surprised if they steal a game or two, especially that wild card game.
That's not a steal. They should be favorited for the wild card game.
But even if it's on the road, is what I'm saying. Usually the home team, you give a little bit of favoritism too. But the Cowboys to me are not a strong team. Seahawks can come in and get that win, and I'm telling you, if either the Eagles or the Vikings get the better end of the Bears in the wild card game, I could see Seattle going into the Rams. I don't care if they've already lost twice to them. I could see them going into L.A. and beating this Rams team because of what I've seen from the Rams down the stretch. The problem I have with the Seahawks is they're playing hot, but they're not the hottest team that I've seen. They were 4-5 and have gone, what would that be? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-1. Since that point, since their last game to the Rams, they've gone 5-1, could be 6-1 after a win. But I think the only thing in my mind that lessens that is because to me the hottest team, the hottest run right now going into the playoffs is the Indianapolis Colts, a team that I wanted to talk about again this week, but I didn't want to have that conversation and then have them lose to the Titans and then be out of the playoffs.
For sure.
But, like, that's the only reason why I feel like with the Seahawks, I'm not, like, like I'm high, but I'm not super high because I see a team in the AFC that's on a way hotter run than the Seahawks, although their run right now is warmer, is hotter than the Rams, who are playing in the same division as them.
Yeah. And, I mean, you look at these teams, too, and they only play who they play, so I can't knock the Seahawks on beating teams that are easy to beat.
It's a very central, or UCF, sorry, they don't like when you call them Central Florida, UCFism of like, you can't judge us for who we play, man. We only play who we play.
Exactly. But the thing that stands out to me, though, is I look at those Rams losses. I look at losing to the Bears. I look at losing to the Chargers and say, well, those are the caliber of teams you're going to play.
And they've already beat Dallas, but that one was in Seattle.
I think we both agree that Dallas is
the weakest.
Barely a playoff team.
No, barely a playoff team. Like, I would take the Eagles over them.
Yeah, I mean... Yeah,
really, the whole NFC.
I mean, the Eagles
they are not the NFC Beast this year. They are the NFC Least this year.
Yeah, I remember you getting to call them the NFC Least all the time. That was fun.
And now then they were the Beast. Now they're back to the Least.
Yeah, I just look at it and I'm like, there's going to be some really good teams, and sure they can upset somebody, but I don't necessarily know if it lasts that long. I just don't think they have the total team. And you can say like, yeah, but they beat the Rams when they were a better team. Sure, but there are. I would say right now, if we were doing a power ranking, just the NFC.
Just the NFC.
It would go Saints, Bears, then Rams. Because the Rams are getting depleted by injury. And the Bears have some issues with injury, too.
If we're only doing top three, I would say Saints, Bears, Seahawks.
That's fair.
I would say the Seahawks have a better chance at getting out of the NFC than the Rams do at this point.
Yeah. I'd say that's fair.
And there's a little bit of me that might flip the Bears and Seahawks, but that Bear defense. If I'm a Seahawk fan, though, here's what I'm rooting for, and this will be the last thing I say. Here's what I'm rooting for if I'm a Seattle fan. The Vikings need to win twice. They need to win in Minnesota. They need to win in Chicago, because then as Seattle, I get the Cowboys, I get the Rams. And then, hey, if Minnesota wins again, cool. We get Minnesota and Seattle. We get a home game. But if not, I will then take my chances.
That's your dream scenario.
Yeah. I will then take my chances against the Saints in the NFC title game rather than in the divisional game.
Yeah. I don't think anybody wants to play the Saints because the Saints are saying, we should have been here last year.
And not just that. And the reason why I say NFC championship game rather than divisional game, because I know someone's going to be out there and say, what does it matter, the Saints or the Saints? I rather have Drew Brees. And the reason why I want the Vikings to win too is, think of it this way. Vikings come into town that divisional round. It's not just the fact that I don't want to play Drew Brees off of a bye. Because if I get him in the divisional round, I've got a rested Saints team where we had to beat up on Dallas. Whereas in the NFC Championship game, they've played a game and haven't had a full week off to rest at that point. Also, if they play Minnesota, which they would have to because Minnesota would come in as the 6th seed, if that game is even close against the Saints and the Vikings, you're telling me that a couple of those Saints players might not be a little bit emotionally drained? Now, I'm not saying like completely depleted, but a lot of emotion is going to go into that game because of what happened last year. And how many times have we seen in the past, team plays other team that they lost to last year, really puts a lot into it and beats that team.
It means a little extra more.
They treat it like a Super Bowl.
It means a little more.
They treat it like a Super Bowl and then lose the next game. Like, how many times have we seen that? Where it's like, yes, we got over it. We beat them. Oh, shoot, there's 2 other games. And then they lose. We've seen that before. Not saying that would be the Saints, but I would like to see that rather than, all right, we just beat Dallas and now we got to play a well-rested Saints team that is just laser focused on us coming into this week.
Yeah, that would not be your ideal situation. That's for sure.
Like you said, the ideal one is that the Vikings just win 3 games.
Yeah.
They beat the Bears this week, beat the Bears next week, beat the Saints in New Orleans, and then Seattle would get a home game against the Minnesota Vikings in a rematch of that one. But this is where you guys come in. Let us know what you guys think down below about the Seattle Seahawks, or if you're not a fan of them, the Sea Chickens, as I've always called them in the past. Sometimes depends on the segment that we're doing. But let us know, are they a dark horse? Will they be a dark horse in the NFC? Let us know in that comment section.